All right, Andrew Weiss with the Christopher Dragon. This Italia 11.98 is a brand new boat to you. I know the story's been going around about the insanity of getting it off the ship earlier this winter and just knocking out the Fort Lauderdale race, and then everything else. I guess that's kind of followed. You've been fast at winning, and then all of a sudden into the Bermuda race, and what the heck, you win another division. So is it you guys, or is it the boat?
You know, I'd like to say it's us, but the boat. We bought the boat. It was used. I think I told you that before. We bought it. We searched around after we selling the insane boat, the Curve 40, which we thought. Your thing's spinning around in circles. But we had the Curve 40. Said, well, we've become really bad sailors over the last 3 years. But it's a good ORC boat. But some of them do well, some don't. Well, we've done a lot of prep on the boat. So we took a really good boat. I think I said before. We thought was a good boat. And we went back to the designer to optimize it for the U.S. and optimize it for this race, which was a nightmare to get into here. We didn't qualify with stability on it. We worked on the sail plan. So I think we got the boat in a good spot for the moment.
Let's. Do you mind running us through this optimization list before we get into how your race came out?
Sure.
This is part of the prep, right?
Yeah. So the prep goes back. When we were selling the other boat, I looked to get a boat in Europe, and my heart was sort of set on getting a JPK 1180 because the Surprise was doing really well.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know, we don't race IRC here. So I might want to get the boat, but I don't think it's a boat. So I said, getting a boat that's under 40 feet, the best IRC boat I can find in the world is the JPK, and the best ORC boat appears to be the 1180, but nobody races the 1180 offshore. So the other thing we learned was in Europe, all the ORC boats are set for a division A, B, C by rating, and CDL, and we don't have that here. So we went to the designer, who's been really cooperative, and said, just let's optimize the boat to go. I don't care about the rating, just do what you think is right. So we got rid of the symmetrical spinnakers, put bigger ASIMs on the boat. Everything was aimed towards Bermuda for the first half year. So we said, okay, 3/4 of our race will be for distance and another third for inshore, and we'll come back and talk about inshore later on. And then we realized we don't meet the 115 stability index that's required for offshore. So we had to go back and add lead shot in the boat. The designer comes in, you're going to make the boat worse. I said, well, I may be making it worse, but I'm not going to qualify for Bermuda unless I add it. So we added 600 pounds of lead in the keel.
Oh, that hurts, doesn't it? Yeah.
And he said, you're making the boat slower in light air. And we did it right before the block iron race, begged Dobbs Davis to come and measure the boat the week before on it, so we'd make that. And it worked for Block Island. We had in windy races, the boat's a little more stable, and we won that class and overall on that one. But we did New York Annual Regatta, and the boat was a little slower in light air, just like he said it would be.
Yeah. So as the cards played out, this Bermuda race ended up being kind of an ideal setup then for the mods?
I think it was pretty ideal for the odds, but I didn't think this was going to be a really good downwind boat. We were sort of hoping for a little more upwind reaching. It's not a planing boat. Like the crew said, you're really going to be happy with this boat? The other boat, you're going 25 knots downwind. I said, yeah, we're going 25 knots downwind all the races, and we lose every race on it. But it seems to be a good all-around boat, and everybody gets into a speed contest on the crew, and they're all hitting 16, 17, 18 knots for a bit. And I said, oh, I can't really be outdone. So I got the last shot, I hit 19. So we never thought the boat would go 19 unless we dropped off a bridge. But
wow. So I'm gonna burst your bubble there. So I had a conversation with Sally Hunter this morning on the Cal 40, and they hit 22.
I believe it. You can't beat a Cal 40.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so other than the leads and those kind of modifications, what was that kind of the basic list?
Well, I think in this race for anyone, it's preparation, right? Yeah. So we went through everything on the boat, went to offshore, replaced the halyards, replaced the sheets, replaced a lot of the running rigging, got the boat set up to go offshore. It had never been raced, and it didn't have bilge pumps, didn't have a stove. It had a stove, but it didn't have an oven.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time just prepping, myself and Ed Bain, who helps me out as boat captain. We just go down the list, and
cheers to the boat captains on this race.
He did a great job on prepping. We after the St. Pete nude regatta, the boat came with a rolled-on bottom paint. We stripped the bottom in St. Pete and did the bottom over ourselves. We didn't take a boat yard, did the whole thing.
Wow,
on it, and it just got a lot better in light air.
What'd you put on the bottom?
We put VCA offshore.
Yep.
We took it down. It had some European stuff. I don't even know what it is on the bottom, so we couldn't trust.
Did it come off well? Easy?
Took 5 days.
Yeah, it took.
Yeah, took. You know, we didn't want to shell it, so we took it down to the gel coat and 5 coats of barrier paint on it, some fairing, and then more barrier paint, and then 5 coats of VC.
Wow.
And then down to 1,000. It really makes a difference.
Bottom is fast.
Yeah.
Check. Well, there was a lot of miles to cover on that bottom, so.
Yeah.
Smooth as fast.
So it made. But you know, it all came up. We added one sail in the spring. The designer said to get these. We don't have code zeros. We didn't have one for any of the spring race for ORC. So we added a A3 right before the Italia race we did on it, and worked really hard on the shape and made it legal for ORC, and 85%, so it didn't have to be a rating penalty. We used it and won the Italia race. We used it for the Block Island race, and we put it up going to the Gulf Stream here and had it up for 26 hours. It's been a great sail.
Do you think, we'll get to the race sort of like in stages, but was that perhaps one of the smartest sail decisions you've made in that?
I think it's the best sail decision we made. It uncomplicates the boat.
Yeah.
So you don't, we had a code zero for 20 minutes race, but normally we don't have a code zero. We don't have a jib top, right? We don't have anything else, so this is the sail you're going to go with.
Yeah.
And it's just been so versatile, and it just makes the boat simpler to do.
Well, I suppose that deserves a shout out to your sailmaker, which is?
Pat Considine and Butch Ulmer. Butch was the guiding role, and Pat, who's the lead designer at UK, has worked really hard. He sailed on the boat in St. Pete, when not St. Pete, Fort Lauderdale race for the first time. We've been back and forth. He's from Chicago on every sail we've done. And we've worked hard on the main, spinnakers. It's for anybody to get here. It's a big process if you want to do well.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so good job to UK sailmakers getting that done.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through your race in the various stages, strategy going into it, and how it played out?
So our race started before we on the weather. I made a mistake a few years ago, and you can buy from different people forecasting, and it gets confusing if you buy from this person, this person, this person, and everybody has conflicting things on it.
Oh, that's not fun.
So we started in 2006 using Jennifer Clark for Gulfstream, but not for weather on it, and we stuck with her for the Gulfstream, and we moved, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, to using Chelsea for weather, and I think it's a big important person. You get understanding, they get understanding you, how you sail the boat. So we
This is Chelsea.
Sea Tactics Chelsea. I don't know Chelsea's last name. I can't remember.
But her company is?
I think it's Sea Tactics.
Sea Tactics. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got a bigger plug.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we stayed with Chelsea starting last year. We used her for every race this year. We gave her all the expedition files off the boat, going back and forth. We tuned back. And I avoided every other weather seminar, reading any other weather report with anybody. I left the skipper's meeting when we went to weather. I didn't want to get confused by anybody else. I want to stick to what our plan was.
Yeah.
And so we, in one matter, the Gulfstream was, I think the location of the Gulfstream was really done well by people. Chelsea had a person doing it. Jennifer had it. They were really close. And for years past, I think the technology's gotten much better. Yeah. So you knew where the Gulfstream was, you knew where the donut was, pretty much. Jennifer had it a little more east, and we thought Jennifer's was right on it, just from where she's been in the past.
Yeah.
And you knew there was going to be a northwesterly, and you knew when you're finished it's going to be a northerly. So we just said we got to get east and stay on our plan. And we set that Monday, Tuesday before the race, and the weather stayed pretty consistent all the week, whatever week was before the race.
Yeah, you kind of lost track.
It just was when the front was going to come through, but it always looked like it was northwesterly, and it always looked to me like it was going to veer over to the north. So myself and Larry Fox, he's been navigating with my father since we grew up together. since we've known each other since we were 15, 16 years old, maybe 14 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We stayed on the same plan
Stick to the plan.
on it. And I said at the start, there are going to be people going different directions. Let's just stay going east as much as we can. Which then got screwed up because the wind veered a little bit later on.
Yeah. This is the whole timing of the front thing, right? It's kind of, I think it threw a lot of people off.
Yeah, so we ended up in the Gulf Stream about 50 miles to the west of where we wanted to be.
Yep.
So we came in with the A2 up, a lot of squalls, 25, 30 knots. And the crew, I was steering at the time, the crew was saying, let's keep the A2 up, keep the A2 up. I said, we reached two things. We reached my cash limit and blow out the sail, and my steering ability in 30 knots. So we took the A2 down, sailed 5 or 6 miles with the J3,
Yep.
jibed over onto port, oriented ourselves where we're going to go, put the A3 up, 2025, and started. It was, the Gulf Stream was different. There were people all on Channel 16. I'm sure I've heard this from other people. It was like a traffic command station. People saying, I'm heading the wind, my sails are wrapped around this, I'm going here, I'm passing this. And I said, let's just stay off the chatter, concentrate. And we sailed, I think 35, 40 miles to the east, back not quite to where we wanted to be, our entering target,
Yep.
and jibed onto starboard. And then you got the tendency, everybody wants to sail up, everybody wants to have fun,
Yeah.
right? And sail to the donut on it. And that, and we see, the interesting on that is we hit it, we've got 2.5 knots of current, and the boat's 4 or 5 miles to our right, we're going 2.5, 3 knots slower to us, we're not in it. We can see, you can see them with the naked eye at that point.
Hey, you're in your own little...
I'm sure a bunch of boats did the same thing.
Yeah.
But we passed all the boats to the right of us, and stayed down low. Our only other fight was Monday. The wind was lighting up, and sail as low as possible. Sailed as a day race, as low as you can, VMG on it. Never go above the target angles. And then my last piece was we got a new A2. We carried 2 A2s for the race. We had a new one that's 5 meters bigger. The boat's rated for it, but I didn't want to blow it up.
Yeah.
I said, okay, when the wind gets to 12 knots, we're going to need this. So we waited to 11 o'clock Monday morning, put that up, held down to 45 miles from Bermuda, and then came up on course and jibed. I think we had 15-mile jibe on port, and that was it.
Yeah. See, but I guess a lot of that goes back to experience, right? And this, we have a few others I've spoken to is just, again, that preserving that sail for when you need it and not trying to get ahead of yourself,
Yeah, I think you only have so many sails on it. And the hard part in the Bermuda Race is going east, because it's normally west.
Yeah.
So it's hard to bring yourself to go east. But the other part, when talking to Chelsea, was that if it got light, there would be more wind on the east side coming into Bermuda than the west side on it. And we sort of finished maybe 4 or 5 hours. I think our original tracking showed us finishing at between 2 and 5 on Monday. We finished at 11:30.
Yeah.
So, but the front was later too.
Just got ahead of the weird. Yeah.
Yeah, we had 10 knots. So we finished, the wind veered over to 20, 30. But I think the whole front was just a little later coming in.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well sailed.
It was fun.
You connected the dots, you stuck to your plan.
Yep.
And you preserved your sails, and you didn't blow anything up.
Didn't blow anything up. Had a good crew of people who sailed with us a long time. Everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
Nothing, people. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago was the newest crew member who did it. Everybody else had been sailing anywhere from 5 years to 40.
Cool. All right, so let's run down through the crew list for a matter of record.
Okay.
Who did this amazing division?
So we had Larry Fox, who's a navigator. Him and I have been sailing together since, back when in the 70s on it. Ed Bain, who's the boat captain on it.
On board.
On board.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to get the boat captain on board. They sometimes want to fly down, but he came for this race, and he can't steer, so it's even harder to get him on for that.
Yeah.
On that.
That's cool.
Lawrence Cutler, who's a good friend of mine. We own a J88 together on that. He was a watch captain on it. We've been sailing a bunch of years together. Then we had Mike Magoo, who I met from sailing on Kenai a few years ago. I grabbed him before Chris Lewis grabbed him on the race as another watch captain. And then we had Morgan Bennett, who sailed with Larry Huntington for years on Snowline. And as soon as Larry stopped, Morgan is the most reliable bow person I've had or sailing with us. He's done Sydney Hobart race, Bermuda races with us, just all around great. Never have to worry on the bow.
Yeah.
I never have to go forward every
Call that the ace on the bow.
Yeah. Just doesn't matter, day race, distance race. So just say, Morgan, whatever you want to do on that. Ryan Zupon, who sailed us a few times before on it, and Colin Fitzgerald, who's been sailing since I think we had the J122 on it. And that's
amazing.
Our group.
All right, so the Christopher Dragon program, though, I mean, the family and the name, this is your fourth boat?
My fourth boat,
right.
12 in the series.
12 in the series. What do you do from here on in now that you've won this thing with a brand new boat, which is pretty amazing?
Well, I don't think anybody believes me, but I told my wife this is my last sailboat on it.
I hope it's a good one.
Yeah. Before I got it, I said, this is our last boat. And she said, yeah, this is my last dog. But
how's the puppy?
They're all good. All the dogs are good. She's unfortunately or fortunately, she's big into field training in labs, and she's at the Lab Amateur Nationals in Oregon. So she drove to Oregon last week and couldn't be here.
Oh, cool.
So
well,
we're both good things.
Yeah, you got your things.
Yeah. But the name originally came from my stepmother's imaginary pet dragon, and it's 1972 was the first one, and we just stuck with the name on the boat.
To the division win, I mean, when you guys finished, were you confident?
Yeah, we raced in our, well, I'm not trying to be egotistical with the thing.
No,
so we thought the only real boat that was going to be competition is In Theory, the JPK. Ironically, its mooring is 150 yards from ours in Larchmont on it, and we know everybody on the boat on it. And they did really well when the breeze was up. We couldn't match their speeds on it. So but we saw they got to the west. We got leverage on that. So we told our crew from the beginning, we're not racing our class. We got to beat the next two classes of faster boats. So the only boat in the next two bigger classes that went across the line faster than us was a J122. So we beat 30 boats that were bigger in that one.
Amazing. Yeah.
So when we came in on Monday, we were waiting for In Theory to come up on AIS on it. And we found them on AIS. They were 15 miles away. They jibed, and when they crossed our transom, they were 11 miles behind us, and we just covered them from ahead. And they owed us 50 minutes at the time. So we ended up, light air downwind's not their thing on that. We ended up 2 hours ahead on elapsed and 3 hours uncorrected.
Got enough of a cushion there,
yeah. But they're good guys. They sailed a good race. They were really friendly rivalry. Same sort of thing happened in the Block Island race. They were ahead of us maybe half to two-thirds of the race. Wind got light, and we just grounded. And Peter, when he owns a boat, he said, I used to like the color pink. Our spinnakers are pink.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you cannot miss that spinnaker.
He said, now I do not like the color pink anymore.
Awesome. Okay, let's close with your, two questions. How many of these have you done?
This is the ninth.
And what's the memory of this race that's seared into your head at the moment?
It was a fun downwind race. I don't think you get very many on the Vin race. 2012 is the only time I've really had it up. It felt a little bit like Sydney Hobart race we did. Sunday sailing was like, champagne sailing with a spinnaker up, 25 knots going all day long. That at least I haven't done that in a Bermuda race.
Awesome.
On that. And it was, doing the race to me, the biggest thing is doing the race with friends. I'm not a big going all pro type of program. We've never done that.
Yeah.
And doing it all friends, all people you like, and having a great 2 days of sailing on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Okay. Thank you
for sharing your story, and congrats on the win.
Thank you.
And did you bring your jacket and tie for the awards? Or you have that shipped in just in case?
Fortunately, I got to go back home.
Oh, you're going home. Okay.
Yeah. Well, now I wasn't going to do New York Yacht Club Race Week. I'm trying to figure out now if I go back and do some more work, maybe I can figure out how to do that too.
Work gets in the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. Well, you got to buy spinnakers and stuff in anyway, so you got to work at some point.
Yeah, we're okay on sales, I think.
Yeah.
A
Cool.
jib. That's our next thing.
Next thing. Cool. All right. Thank you.
Okay.